Welcome everyone. So this week our Torah portion is Shemini, our eighth. So now as we open in this parashah, we see that on the eighth day, which is a new, as it follows the seventh day are the Shabbat, day of rest, that Aaron called upon all of the leaders of Kal Yisrael along with his two sons, and told them to take a male calf as a sin offering, which for us all was, as we know, Yeshua, the ultimate sin offering, and to also take a ram as a burnt offering. Now, it was also said that the calf would represent the situation that happened with them as the golden calf, so they were to make atonement for that. And then also for the ram, it was to take as the ram that this was in the Midrash, that the ram was referring back to the situation that happened with Joseph's brethren when they deceived their father into believing that their brother or his son, his Ben, was killed, and they took the ram's blood and put it onto his robe. Now, which today for the offering, in other words, for offering up sin offerings is, instead of offering up offerings for anything, what we do is we take it to praise and worship. So we offer up praise and worship to Yahweh. Now, they were to tell Kal Yisrael to offer up a male goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both a year old and without defect, for a burnt offering, and an ox and a ram as a peace offering to sacrifice before Yahweh, and also a grain offering mixed with olive oil, as Yahweh would appear to them that day, as Yahweh does to each and every one of us every day, if we are truly in him, that is, and do all that he asks. So I want to ask you all today, how many of you are missing the presence of Yahweh and Yeshua in your life today? Now, if you truly look at your life and what is in it, you may very well find that you are not doing what Yahweh asks of us in his Torah, in his Brit Kadash, and you will start to see and understand why it is that you do not sense Adonai's presence in your life. It's not that Yahweh isn't there with you, it's that you choose not to have him in your presence. Now you see, you must seek Yeshua and answer the door, as he is knocking on it, and will come in and sup with you, just as when the children of Israel did all that Yahweh asked. Then what happened next? Fire had came forth from the presence of Yahweh, consuming the burnt offering and the fat or the altar that was of the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces, as Leviticus 9:24 tells us. So you see, he accepted their offerings as with our praise and our worship to him, because it's something that we do when we do right by and for him, when we actually listen to Yahweh. Now, what happens when we don't listen to Adonai? Well, as with Aaron's two sons, Nadab and Abihu, each of them took their censer and put fire in it and laid incense on it and offered it. Now here it goes. Unauthorized fire. You see that? They used unauthorized fire before Adonai, something in which he had not ordered them to do. And what happened next? Yes, fire had came forth from the presence of Adonai and consumed not the offering, but them, so that they died in the presence of Yahweh. Now, if us all here today choose to do that in which Yahweh had forbidden us to do, our sin, katan, as we hear of in the book of Revelation, we will be consumed by fire likewise. But this time, it will be in the lake of fire where we will cease to exist. Now remember, Adonai said, through those near to me, I show myself holy and gain glory before all the people. And we see that he used Aaron's two sons right here to show us a lesson, that it is always wise and good to listen to Adonai, because if we don't listen to him, it leads to death. As we will see later on when we speak of the clean and unclean foods. Now, after the consuming of Aaron's two sons, the community was mourning. But Moshe told Aaron and his sons, Eleazar and Ithamar, to not unbind their hair or tear their clothes in mourning, so that they won't die. And so Adonai won't be angry with the entire community. Why? Now remember that they made atonement for all of Israel and represented them all and taught them the laws. And now, if the followers saw them do more, or else two actually more, then all of Israel might have thought that the leaders did not agree with Yahweh and were against him. So Adonai told Aaron and his sons to let their kinsmen mourn instead. That they were also told, moreover, don't leave the entrance to the tent of meeting, or they would die. Because Adonai's anointing oil is only and was on them at that time. Now, this goes hand in hand if we look at it with, it is better to not have known than to knowing and to fall away. See, they were righteous and anointed, and to carry their way any less would be to revert back to the sins of the world, or the ways of the world, as a dog returns to its vomit. Now Aaron and his sons were also told not to drink wine or any other intoxicating liquor before they enter into the tent of meeting, so that they would not die. Now, why here would they have died? Because they were there to also receive the laws of Yahweh. And if they were intoxicated, they would mishear or misword Yahweh's laws and ordinances. And when they told them to all of Israel, they would have spread false laws or misrepresented laws, leading Kali Israel to do what Yahweh had not told them to do. Now Adonai also gave them laws on clean and unclean foods as well. But why are certain foods or animals not to be eaten? Well, they are unhealthy for us and thus lead the nefesh, our body, to death, with diseases or parasites, to name the least. Now that is one main reason we could look at it. But now, such as swine or pig, do you not understand that with the swine or pig, they eat anything that is put in front of them, including rotting flesh, and they also don't sweat. So when you eat of the swine or pork, you eat all the things that they devour. Now, as for crabs or lobster, well, they eat all the impurities that float down to the sea floor. So Yahweh tells us not to eat of these things because they kill our bodies. Now, please take some time out and visit followYeshuaNow.com at FOLLOWYESHUANOW.com and download the true Messianic Hebraic guideline for a full list of products and foods that contain unclean animals and byproducts in them. You'll be very shocked to see in your refrigerator and your cabinets what's in there that shouldn't be in there. Now, as with our Haftorah portion, we see that obeying Yahweh brings happiness into our lives. As when David feared Adonai and would not bring the ark of Adonai into the city of David, but instead sent it aside to the house of Obed-Edom after the happening of Uzzah, reaching out his hands to try to steady the ark of the oxen that stumbled. Now, you see, he didn't listen to Yahweh not to touch it and to have emunah, faith, that Yahweh would protect all that was his. Now, as David sent the ark aside of Obed-Edom's house, well, what happened next? Well, as the ark remained at his house for 3 months, well, Yahweh blessed his household. I would like to say it was probably with possibilities of happiness or even good health, or if possible at the time of resurrection, access to his heavenly kingdom. Now, as in our new covenant portion, well, before we get there, I want to say something though. Now it says in the Haftorah portion, and David danced before Adonai with all his might. And the daughter of Saul came out to meet David and said, how did the king of Israel get honor for himself, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants? And David said to his spouse, before the Lord, who chose me above thy father and above all his house to appoint me prince over the people of the Lord. Now understand this. Why is it that David corrected his wife on this situation? Well, remember what happened with his spouse's father, Saul? Well, Saul had been guilty of only one sin, despite an explicit divine prohibition. He had permitted the cattle of the Amalekites to remain alive in 1 Samuel chapter 15. But that one sin had been considered so serious that it cost him his throne. You see, the shortcoming which Saul was honest enough to admit showed that he was not fit to be a leader in Israel. For where the worship of Yahweh is involved, a leader must not permit himself to be swayed by the masses. Instead of allowing himself to be led, he must stand firm and guide the people. See, he allowed himself to be led by the opinions of the masses. And when the prophet Samuel reproved him for his sin, the king replied, the people spared the best of the sheep and the oxen to sacrifice to the Lord thy God. I have transgressed because I feared the people. In 1 Samuel 15:15, he said, I have transgressed because I feared the people and hearkened to their voice. You have to understand that he cared about the people first and foremost, when he should have been caring about what Yahweh said and did, and caring about him and his laws first and foremost. And that's why he wasn't fit to be a king. But David right here, in a situation where he was so proud, he was dancing in joy and lovingness, showed that he did not care. He placed Yahweh first and foremost, and that was all that was on his mind. He was so proud to be in the worship and be in the center of Yahweh's love and his presence that he just danced. He didn't even care what people thought. I mean, think about this. He was running through the town. People were probably looking at him, his own people, laughing at him, but he didn't care. He didn't have a doubt in his mind to quit. It's like when people are out there today, when you want to worship, when you want to sing, when you want to dance for Adonai, Yahweh, Yeshua, do it. Do not be scared. Do not hold back. Do not let people stop you and prevent yourself from thinking about situations like, what is this person going to think of me? Always think about it's Yahweh. You're glorifying him. You're magnifying him. Yikdah Yahweh. Magnify Yahweh. It's a good lesson. And now, as in our new covenant portion, well, with the transfiguration, as the 3 disciples had seen Yeshua and Elijah and Moshe, I ask you, how was it that the apostles knew that the 2 other men were Elijah and Moshe? Well, I tend to think that in the presence of Adonai, there is only truth and understanding. And as they were being the disciples, were in the presence of Yeshua, well, they received knowledge and truth Amet to all things. That is why they were scared, because they were in the almighty power and presence of Yahweh. Now, why was Yeshua there with Moshe and Elijah? Because they, Moshe and Elijah, were foretelling of the word, the true gospel, Yeshua, the living word, and they were showing that Yeshua was the true Ben of Yahweh. And that is why Yahweh appeared as a cloud that overshadowed them and said, "This is my beloved Ben, listen to him." And after that, as they turned around, all that was there was who? Yes, Yeshua HaMashiach, our Messiah. And now we will have the Aaronic blessing. May Adonai bless you and keep you. May Adonai cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May Adonai lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. This has been a weekly Messianic Torah portion from Following Yeshua Ministries. For more information or for guidance, please visit www.followyeshuanow.com.